Welcome to the Spinfoil Theory Podcast. Each week we sit down and discuss our favorite lore topics from within the Destiny universe. Specifically, we intend to take a close look at a specific question that has been nagging us and potentially the Destiny community as a whole. To fulfill that, our discussions tend to assume that you already have some background in the Destiny lore. Despite that, our goal is to be as lighthearted and welcoming to everyone as possible. With that out of the way, let's dive into this week's topic.
And the Mile High Club, potentially, depending on how you secured your flight.
You'll hear all about it on the way over.
That's right. Or, I mean, maybe I'll hear all about it on, after you arrive. If, And that's gonna be our banter for opening up. It's just gonna be vague references to sex on a plane.
Indeed. That's my band name,
sex
by
on
the
a
way.
plane? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
So welcome to the Spinfoil Theory podcast. On those exciting notes, welcome. We are very excited to bring you to this episode. I am super jazzed this weekend. I don't mean to toot my own horn. This is the first episode post homeownership. And
Woo-hoo!
Oh man, did I cramp my hands signing all of my life away.
Who needs hands anyway? You got a house now.
Exactly. That's how I feel about it, but I feel like some people are like, Taylor-B, you could have just, invested in a stamp. Not legal. You'd be surprised. You can't just stamp your signature. You have to do other stuff. You can't just buy the stamp, is all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you can't just buy the stamp. There's gonna be some lawyer friend who's gonna on the show is gonna write us and be like, actually, asshole, if having some new facts that I'm unaware of. You don't have to be incorporated. Well, fuck.
You did not consider this.
Yeah, I did not. So I just wanna manage everyone's expectations there. This is Bagels has one drink, but he's like, oh, I gotta go play comp later. So it's not as toasty an episode as it could be. I just want to put that out there for everyone. Don't feel bad if you seem to be having more fun than Bagels. It's his fault.
It typically is my own fault, so I accept the responsibility.
It's his own fault. He's an adultman. So don't cry for him, Argentina.
It's my last name, Adultman.
Adultman. Yeah, Bagels Adultman. I'm sorry, the Bagels Adultman.
Bagels is actually my middle name. My first name is The.
Well, yeah, you need that article. I figured it was your Mr.
Mr. The Bagels?
Oh,
Adultman?
No, the was your Mr. Instead of Mr., it's just, article, the. Please address me appropriately.
I need
asshole. Yeah, no, you can't be stopped. You can't be stopped. This is actually one of our original 10 theories that we wrote down in our bank. So this is kind of a fun one because it still kind of persists. Some of them fell off, as theories do as new information comes out. There's nothing wrong with that. And some of them we've gone over, but this was number 3 of the Jim Jams we wrote down.
Yeah, this is one of the old school ones, and it's fun to come back and look at this one. It's especially with this season, I think it's particularly relevant because we're discussing the Fallen a lot, and so it pops up quite a bit.
Yeah. I concur. As a professional, so this one's a lot of fun. It's basically to put it in the most basic way. It's the theory is servitors are either a spiritual or quite literal precursors to ghosts. And so I guess broader are servitors precursors to ghosts? And I think it can go a multiplicity of ways here. But long story short, the largest link you have to it, if you look at the base servitor before you get Siva and all these other things that have come later with the Fallen since they've arrived at Earth, augmenting further their tech as they've encountered Earth technology. The idea is these servitors as noted in the lore, are built in the image of the traveler. And when you look at the ghost, if you remove the shell, quite similar shape, quite similar design.
It's pretty clear that at least in construction purposes, they look quite similar. And on top of
Round.
that, yeah, right. And it appears that the servitor is designed after the shape of the traveler. That appears to be at least one of the original design elements to how the Fallen created their servitors. They needed machines in order to basically produce ether, and our current thought process is that the traveler, it might not have, it probably didn't like produce the original amount of ether on Reese the Lixney homeworld, but
Is
it
that
could
to
have
say?
certainly.
I'm, I'm,
Sorry, go.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Bagels, but is that to say that, like, what we know about the servitors is at least, like, 100% like post the whirlwind? As the sole producers of ether, it's kind of like before that where the gray area falls in, is what I think you're alluding to, so sorry to interrupt.
Correct. Yes. So what we've got here, I'll break it down by timeline essentially.
Break it down!
So pre Traveler, we have very little information on ether production for the Fallen. We don't know if they needed ether at that time. We can kind of guess that they probably did. It was still probably a necessary biological requirement of their functioning. But post arrival of the Traveler, we do have descriptions of Reese, the Elixni homeworld, as being just having like rivers of ether for their consumption. It's essentially a lush garden world, and Reese is the ether is easily accessible to all of them. Whether or not it's actually like a good found and harvested at that point in time is still pretty unclear, but it's easily obtained by
So,
all.
so this raises another question that I've always had about, because you know how we tend to liken the Fallen to arachnids,
Mhm,
especially with like the spider like overtaking that like beast with 1,000 arms of that.
mhm.
It makes me wonder if this form of consumption didn't come from an aquatic planet. Like maybe they're actually more like crustaceans, aquatic arachnids, to where like what they're used to breathing in this whole time, like maybe they don't have like I'm not saying it's like an oxygen thing, like they need to be in the water, but I'm wondering if like their home environment is like this thick, like you can kind of like breathe in sustenance type of thing, because there are form of shrimp that just kind of like filter out food, and other aquatic life, they just kind of filter out food from the water as they swim.
I'll say that that's possible, but here's the description of Reese from I believe it's from what's this from? I think it's from
Dun dun
Ghost
dun
Strike
dun.
Fallen 3. I think this is what this is from.
Okay.
Reese was described as a finely crafted paradise, possibly so after the coming of the Traveler, whom the Elixni revered as a god. And the ether is said to have run freely. Carefully tended lakes and rivers are mentioned along with fields of lush iridescent crops and groves of starkly colored trees. The sky was a light pink, likely due to ether enrichment, and at times appeared green as well. Well, regular that part is relevant, but yeah. So basically, it's described to have been in to run freely, and the carefully tended lakes and rivers. It's a lot of
So
context there.
here's where I'm coming. Here's where I'm coming with this, right? Ether, as we see it, is represented as a gas, right?
Yes,
Uh, Conversely, like yes, and on Earth, air currents and water currents share a very similar pattern. There's a lot
okay,
of overlap. There's some discrepancy between plates and stuff like that, but there's a lot of overlap between that between the two. Just like
sure,
flow based on the spinning of the Earth and the gravity thereof.
sure.
I submit that maybe where the Elixni were, if it wasn't like an aquatic planet, maybe it was like a thicker gaseous planet, maybe more similar to Fundament. to where like rivers aren't necessarily like as we perceive them on Earth, right? Maybe they could be. Maybe there's like a third dimension to it, right? Just because of how thick the atmosphere and what you're breathing in is. And I only submit this because the Fallen, even, and correct me if I'm wrong, even the dregs, they need the ether to grow. They don't need it to live. Like, I feel like they can, like, they've quite provenly, especially in the most recent raid, like, proven they can exist in space.
I'm pretty sure they do need it to live.
No, they need it to live, but they don't need, like, air. Sorry. They don't need, like, air, oxygen, they don't need, like, atmosphere to live. I did misspeak just now. But, like, they don't need, like, they need it to, like, eat and grow. But, like, they'll just kind of wither away and get smaller without ether. They won't necessarily die right away. Like, it's a necessity, but it's not an imperative.
Okay. So yeah, it's not like they'll die without it immediately, like we would due to oxygen deprivation sort of thought process.
Yeah.
And I think there's some credence to that thought process. I do think cutting off a dreg from his ether supply for a limited period of time is not going to kill him immediately. I think in that sense it's more akin to food, but it probably
to a point, right? To a point,
yeah.
Because like I feel like when you snip those tubes to the bigger Fallen, like you know when they die and like their ether stuff pops off,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not sure how much overlap there is between lore and application in games, so everyone forgive me here, but I'm trying to connect these dots. I feel like because they kind of get smaller as they like shrivel up and die. Not like dramatically. It's not like the Wicked Witch of the West. Like I'm not trying to like paint that picture for you, but I think to some extent, if you're gonna have a super big Fallen, he needs to have like a somewhat constant supply of ether.
And that's typically what the description is of like an Archon, somebody who can breathe in just ether constantly, essentially. Whereas a dreg, you get the description of they get whiffs of ether. So you've got a direct. It kind of lends credence to your thought process that it's not necessary at all points in time
do you know what this stupidly reminds me of? In Futurama and other cartoons that Futurama was referencing, but it's like the two like space hobos. They're like, that is a hobo lifting aroma you've got there. And I just feel like the Fallen, the dregs are like, oh shit, was that ether potentially in that can? Like, damn, I'm feeling a little better already, just based on the implications. I put that out there. But yeah, like so that's a big gray area in this theory.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that really draws the biggest line of whether it's a spiritual or actual precursor. Because, like, if the initial, like, you know, before the whirlwind, if the first iteration, it turns out, of the servitor is something that they only glean through influence of the traveler, I think there's a much larger argument to be had.
Sure. And you could make the argument, like I said, we don't know much about the Elixni pre-traveler.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that in order to essentially quote unquote improve their species, the traveler introduced ether to the Fallen.
Ooh, see, that's a great point. I was gonna say that we do know from, I think it's in-game dialogue, if I recall correctly. Like I did my research proper. I can look at my notes if you really want to call me out here. But no, we do know that the servitors were built in the image of the traveler.
Correct.
Whether that was pre or post collapse, because you know it's one of those things when you have a spacefaring sort of pirate species that is rigging all these different technologies together as they go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually kind of disappointed we've never explored what technology they might have scavenged before they got to the solar system. Like there's never been any like You know what I mean? There's never been any, like,
Sure.
third-party technology that has nothing to do with any of this. They just happen to fucking pirate that shit along the way.
That would be a pretty fun thing to explore. I think the reason probably that we haven't encountered much of that to this point is that they mostly came directly to our solar system.
Oh, that's why I purely mean along the way, right?
Right, and I get where you're coming from. It's just
Yeah.
mostly counter. I think that's probably why we just haven't encountered any additional exotic technology from the Fallen.
Ooh, yeah. And I don't mean to. I thank you for bringing that up. Like, I would be here for even just notes on like different systems that they have that are mundane.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, oh yeah, these weren't our propulsion systems. We looted this from these guys on the way,
Mm-hmm.
and just like mass copied it because these guys were bitches.
Right?
Like they just went total Cobra Kai about it. They just like punched him and took it. Like
No, I'd
they weren't
be
out to destroy everybody, but they were just taking the shit and like.
I'd be entirely down for that. That would be actually a pretty compelling storyline in my view if they did come up with some technology that they've been like working to crack for the past like 1,000 years essentially, and they finally figured out how to implement it and use it, and it has some like dire consequences for humanity. That'd be pretty cool as a
or
design.
themselves
Yeah, yeah.
like that there's a lot of potential there, like even if they were, as we've discussed, potentially like for the most part like cryogenically chilling
Mm-hmm.
for the most part of that journey, like because we don't know how far they're meant to be away, we don't know how fast their ships go. There's a lot of questions that like aren't answered there, but I would really dig this idea of like there's this species or like area of the universe that has nothing to do with the Traveler of the Darkness that the Fallen like happened upon on their way here just due to like gravitational forces or rotations. It was along the way for just that like their trip. And it's just like, oh yeah, fuck you guys, we're taking these. Peace. No, we're not going to destroy you, but like bounce. Like, like
We'll leave you to space float here forever, though. No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe that's where the cephalopods come in. The Fallen just punched them a few times on their way, like, here, stole their propulsion systems, and just bounced over to the solar system. I hope you're still here for that. But back to the theory. I'm sorry, I get off on tangents.
No, yeah, it's fine.
It's more for, well, Bagels, I know you're here for it. It's more for our audience.
Sure, I gotcha.
They might be here for two at this point, but like I feel like I need to call myself out on it before I go like 20 minutes in.
I do want to kind of hedge back to that point about the potentiality of the Traveler introducing ether to the Fallen, because if that's the case, then more than likely the Traveler would have also introduced, if not introduced, technology to harvest said ether. It would have certainly inspired the ability to harvest the ether, and at which point the Fallen would have, or the Elixni would have crafted servitors, or something akin to a initial model of some sort of ether harvesting device that would someday become a servitor. And that would be how that they modeled the servitor after the Traveler at that point. Kind of a interesting thought process that at least leads some credence to this theory.
Just to touch on that like once more before I feel like we really need to move on. The idea that the Traveler introduced ether is so interesting because in many ways the Traveler created and improved upon habitats for humanity as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if the Traveler introduced a substance that allowed for exponential growth and longevity within the Elixni, I feel like that is 100% on brand.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree at all, and in fact, it's in line with the light, essentially the exponential growth of a population. From what we know about pure light in our interactions with the Nine and the Prophecy Dungeon, being exposed to pure light is essentially non-death. everything just goes on in perpetuity. And as a result, something like ether makes sense as a resultant of the traveler visiting a species.
It's almost like good karma, right? You can cultivate it.
Right.
Not to be like too meta about it, but like I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. Like you can
Yep.
really kind of lean in on like, oh, like, yeah, okay. The traveler's smiling upon you. You don't got to war with yourself anymore. Like, okay, okay. I actually, and I still really wonder this. I always wonder if, like, there were other species that seemed to be amenable to the traveler, but we don't quite know if they had been touched by the traveler
Correct. I
that
mean,
fought
even
against like the hive in the book of the one book of sorrows that we have.
correct.
Yeah. And so
And
I sorry.
I was just going to add to that. In fact, a section of the Hive worshipped the Traveler. It was a subsection of that had a planet destroyed by the main force of the Hive that we're now familiar with in the Death Singer song. But they actively worshipped the Traveler, despite never being visited by the Traveler.
And so what I really wonder here is if longevity is something that is unique to the traveler. Be- because I feel like what the traveler influences is like complacency. I feel like in many of the species that the traveler like is documented as having visited, their ability to defend themselves is kind of lacking because they don't need to anymore. Whereas, quite uniquely, hear me out here,
Sure.
humanity seems to be like so fucking paranoid after having basically fought itself its whole existence.
Sure.
Like, I feel like we're the worst of the best. You know what I mean?
I completely get where you're coming from,
Yeah, I
and it
feel
would
like, yeah.
and it makes sense why if you needed a bunch of warriors to defend you, why would you would choose humanity in that effect?
Like, they're the least bad of the assholes. I'm gonna go pick these guys. It's one of those things I actually kind of submit this to the lore community. I feel like potentially the the people that the traveler had chosen prior to humanity were so much better than humanity that they couldn't stand up to what they were potentially facing, as opposed to humanity, which even demonstrated by a number of the risen chosen by objects or agents of the traveler. We're like the most asshole of all of those people, demonstrably, who were affected by the traveler. No, like we really are. We really are. And people might be like, "Oh, like what about the hive?" Like, ooh, the krill were not helped by the traveler. The traveler never smiled upon the krill. Like it never boosted their shit.
Correct. Correct.
um, like of all the people the traveler like has like smiled upon, we seem to be the most ready to like. And I know this is a dead theory. Like I'm not trying to submit this again, but like I feel like if anyone was gonna shoot the traveler in the back, it was gonna be us.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point as well.
Like if anyone wants to be like, oh, that's a cultural like that culture comes from Earth. It comes from Earth. Like that is not. We don't take too kindly to people who like take too kindly to fucking dipping off in the middle of a fight. Like that's that's cross culture. I stand by that. Like, yeah.
It's not to say. I will note there that we do know. I think it was the Ecumen that did put up a pretty solid fight against the Hive.
We don't know
But
that they were visited by the Traveler.
didn't they
We
have the
just knew
gift
they had.
pass?
Well, they had cadiometric weapons. We knew they were aware of what was going on. I think during the Zizigi, because they seemed to have like, or at least like, maybe not aware of what was going on during the Syzygy, but they were like one of the first people the Hive visited right after the Ecumen, right? Because what you're talking about is the people who were reporting on the Ecumen being the I think like amiable Ecumen, as they describe them, being destroyed by the Hive.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I just wanted to offer it as a counter that none of the races visited by the Traveler had any substantial defenses because I feel like I don't know. I can't remember if it was the Ecumen or if it was the. I'm drawing a blank. There was another one that in particular put up a pretty strong defense against the Hive, and it lasted thousands of years, sort of thing.
Well, that's one of those things like, was that Earth years? Because only some things have been
That's a fair
defined as
point.
Earth years.
Yeah, that's entirely a fair point, and we don't know any of the time scale of the Books of Sorrow, but
Well, all right. So
yeah,
I know for their time on the Fundament, 10 years of life was meant to be a direct correlation in the translation, right? We were meant to understand that amount of time. So
yeah.
it makes me wonder if that does that still apply for the later stories, or is that just for that part?
We really don't know. It's hard
That's
to define that sort of stuff, especially without any like corroborating sources for the books. It's pretty hard to it's pretty hard to really establish a timescale
and
for
that always kind of bugged me, and this is not a call, this is myself included, lore community, but like us in the lore community, we always talk about how the book or books can be like unreliable author
hmm
because Savathun's in the margins. And I'm like, Savathun's one of the authors. She wrote the book. You're gonna get mad at her cliff notes and say, but she wrote the book. She helped write the book. Like, you know what I mean? It's like a. Did you ever read that Stephen Colbert book, I'm America and So Can You?
I did not.
Okay. It's really hilarious. I think some of the jokes might be lost just as time has become displaced and government has changed.
Sure.
But go read it because he's writing the book to you, and he also like air quotes writes in the margins.
Okay. Sure.
And so he like makes notes on his own writing that he's also making jokes at you with.
Fair
Like
enough.
at one point he changes the name of the chapter to reflect the sponsorship he just cultivated by the previous paragraph. like like it's pretty great. It's a great book. Like I totally recommend it.
Okay.
But it's that type of writing. So when I think of Savathun, like when you think of the Books of Sorrows, they're talking about the past of the Hive, and like it reflects on like it doesn't say anything poorly about any of the three siblings. So it's like okay, they at least got to like review this before they put it out there.
Right.
So you're an editor, and now you're writing in the margins too.
Pretty much.
Like,
And on one hand, we kind of have to treat it like a another version of the Chronicon in that regard, and take it with at least a small grain of salt. It's not. I don't think it's quite to that degree, but we do have to question a lot of the stuff that is within it.
so I will say this. I will say this. Because we don't know 100% the nature of ether, just, I'm downshifting again, guys. Sorry, conversationally. We were in fifth. I just brought us back down to third. But don't worry, I had the clutch in there for a while. I can speak English. I had the clutch in there for a while. So we're not going to seize up. Unless I stutter my words again. Anyway, shifting back down, I would say we don't know the nature of how Ether began because we only really have a time just before the whirlwind for the Elixni, and I actually wonder if maybe whatever Ether is comprised of was maybe sparse on their homeworld. Maybe they didn't have long lives until that was introduced. Because they remind me in a lot of ways of the Krill in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
Even if they are more akin to spiders, crustaceans are aquatic arachnids.
Yeah, there are some parallels there. I think that's a good point.
Zoology fans, please write me in to tell me exactly how I'm wrong, but I feel like I have the broad strokes down in this one.
I think we need a disclaimer here in the middle.
I don't want to upset anybody who actually knows this shit, but I feel like I'm for the purposes of this argument, I'm simplifying it appropriately.
Sure. No, I agree. I know. I don't know the detailing there, but I do feel like crustaceans and arachnids are at least distantly related in some fashion. I think I've heard that before.
They would at least enjoy sharing stories before the crustacean suffocated at the bar. No, because the spider's gonna drown almost instantly. You gotta be kind.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. I just kind of want to submit because we don't know the entire nature of Ether. I do want to say that we do know kind of concretely, just kind of touching upon this again, that servitors were built in the image of the Traveler. Great servitors, archons, are a part of the modern Elixni religion. So
yeah, the prime servitors, yeah. Yep.
Exactly. I think there is a strong... the archon communicates with the servitor.
Correct.
And kind of between them and the Kel. It's the middle ground guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a very fair argument to say that that entire culture is really based off what was left after the whirlwind, the culture from their golden age.
Sure.
And so with that in mind, moving over to the more modern thing the Traveler definitely did. The Traveler made the Ghost. The Traveler got shot from some direction or ballooned because it was dying and just expelled a bunch of light and ghosts.
It was like a pregnant seahorse.
Yeah. Oh no! It's not. No. It's like the male seahorse who's ready to let the eggs go that are hatching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that counts as pregnant. I don't mean to offend
anybody. That's a good question.
I'm not sure if that counts as carrying the eggs or being pregnant with them.
That's a very good question. But I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't mean to be ignorant, so I'm just sorry in advance.
I tend to agree. I don't think there's at this point any reason to really doubt that the Traveler gave birth to the ghosts.
I'm so glad you said that. I thought you were gonna still talk about the seahorses.
No, I'm done.
I was I don't think there's any point, reason to doubt at this point that the seahorses. I'm just so glad you were moving on.
Yeah, no, I do believe that the ghosts are the product of the Traveler, and we have not found any significant evidence to think otherwise.
And I think the strongest confirmation that they're of the Traveler is that they can be sent back to the Traveler.
I believe so as well. Yeah, we do know that Osiris sent a ghost back to the Traveler to be reset. Correct. Segura did it. You are correct.
Do you wonder if that's a code that all ghosts have?
A reset code?
Just they have that, they can send that signal to another ghost. Do you think that could be used as a weapon?
Potentially. It seems like it could be used as a weapon to, you're fighting another another guardian for
Another
some reason.
resin. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You set your
And
ghost, you just reset your ghost and go back to the traveler.
well, shit. What do I do now?
That would be some shit. Oh god, can you imagine you're just in this firefight and like a ghost like blips around, like pulls your ghost out of you and it's just like blip 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 and it's like, oh, bounce. Like, oh no. Oh no. What just huh? Yeah. So yeah, Bungie, if you ever listen to this, that would be cool. That would be the most fucking ridiculous shit if someone was just sending their ghost around to reset other ghosts under
That'd
the
be like
pretense
purest
of.
evil that I could imagine out of Arisen.
Well,
Just
so ooh, but it's one of those things like you know how a lot of like villains are the hero of their own story.
Mhm.
So like, all right, if Toland's ghost can like air quotes be serving the traveler and still be super jazzed about dying with Toland as he becomes.
the
Oh,
wisp.
yeah, like almost ascendant. He's almost there. Ooh. um, I actually wonder if someone could just convince their ghost to go reset everyone else's ghost.
It's an interesting question, and
Like, what if
I don't know.
Sagira was evil?
I really don't know the answer to that question. It's something that's not been explored heavily. We've got one definite reference to it in that I think it's Pigeon of the Phoenix that happens in. But other than that,
Is it Pigeon the Phoenix? I thought it happened before that.
it might have been in Ghost Stories. I might be mixing that up.
I think Pigeon the Phoenix is subsequent. I think this story takes place when Osiris is still in the wild, like before the last city.
Okay, yeah, that might entirely be the case. Um, but yeah, regardless, yeah, it's kind of hard to really envision how that would occur. Like, do you need multiple ghosts to basically tell a ghost to reset itself? Because I believe there are multiple ghosts involved in that story, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go back
I
and double
think you
check.
might be a little mistaken. In this case, it was a warlord that Osiris encountered while he was on the road, and he ends up putting that warlord down, and its ghost pop and their ghost pops up, right?
Hmm.
And I don't know if Osiris catches it or Sagira actually subdues it, but they like kind of keep it in place before it's able to res the warlord.
Hmm.
And Sagira like flashes some information at it, and then it just kind of like wanders off like a zombie back to the traveler, and she's like, "Oh yeah, like he was scared. That's why he chose this asshole as their risen." Didn't use the term guardian, I believe. Um, saying that like it was this ghost was let out in a lot of fear, so it shows someone strong
Sure, sure.
to raise. And like to that extent, that makes sense. But it just makes me wonder: is that something that like if only Sagira can do it, why only Sagira? And if not, it sounds like ghosts can just do that, which I think is a lot more like a much more reasonable assumption.
I guess
Maybe they don't know they can do it, but I feel like they could probably all do it if they figured it out.
maybe there's the question of the ghost being willing to be reset itself. Because if that ghost acknowledged that it was scared when it rose that particular individual, then maybe it showed a
I
section of itself as or like humility almost
I
in
I
yeah,
gotta challenge this because in that instance when Sagira did it, she did so forcefully. She stopped the ghost from resing the risen, the warlord.
correct. Um, but after that, like there was some sort of dialogue between the two of them, presumably.
That's between. Sorry, what I'm reflecting upon when I say that ghost was scared, just because I have this kind of fresh in my memory.
Sure.
Um, it's she is reflecting back to Osiris about that ghost. That ghost never says anything to them.
Okay. Okay.
So in that case, it's like she took the information, right? Or at least that's how I read that interaction. Like she kind of like interfaced, like air quotes.
Sure.
Whereas like I don't know, I've been playing enough Cyberpunk where I'm like, quick hacks. This is mine now. Like...
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'd have to reread that whole bit, I think, to have a better grasp on whether or not, or how that interaction would go in particular. But yeah, no, that I guess that makes sense. And as a weapon, that'd be incredibly powerful to wield, because who's to say that only a ghost could wield that power then, if there's some sort of reset code out there for ghosts?
Ooh, that's really interesting because ghosts are shown to be able to interface with a number of technologies, but how many technologies have actually been shown to be able to interface with ghosts?
I believe Siva has been known to, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Siva did what... Well, alright, so arguably there is the Siva ghost shell, where the ghost is kind of like still functioning in spite of the Siva.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue, and hear me out, I would argue that Siva can overtake ghosts. I don't think it can work... I don't think it can interface, like...
Sure.
You know how, like, things can... Like
Sure,
technologies can work together? Like, I don't feel like that's what Siva does with things.
Sure. It basically overwrites what it was.
Hostile...
Yeah.
It's an 80s guy. It's a hostile takeover.
Sure.
Siva, you heard it here first, folks. Siva is the total 80s guy of Destiny AI.
If that's yeah, that's the only thing that really comes to mind on that. Although, oh no, Vex with Asher, he questioned his ghost and how its ability to either revive him or interact how you would typically expect a ghost to with him as a guardian.
I felt like that was because of his infection, not the ghost's.
I'm pretty sure the ghost was also affected by that, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought it was him, and hear me out, I thought it was him, and he was basically worried that if the ghost revived him, it would revive, like, the Vex parts, too.
Might have to revisit that, too.
We'll revisit. I mean, I can timestamp this.
No, this is fine.
This is a static recording. Like, I can just do stuff. People don't even know about my edits.
Secret edit.
At the end of that secret edit, right before it, I had a whole rant. You guys.
I think this kind of warrants its own topic at some point. This is kind of a...
Subscribe!
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that. I'm gonna write that down for later. So yeah. Let's continue on.
Like, the more I yell out scribe, the more happy I am to mail you, like, a lifetime supply of scribe mead. So that I don't feel bad. For those of you who don't know, this joke ended up with Bagels getting his own mead. Not because, like, I made mead, but because I found mead that was also called scribe. In the Commonwealth of Virginia. Yo, so, alright. Back to brass tacks, though. As far as them being a precursor, I think there's actually a lot of, regardless of their origin, even if it's a spiritual precursor, like, the same idea applied by different people, different entities, I think there's a strong argument here, because at their base, even with, like, if we remove the outer shell of ghosts and the outer shell of servitors, which, yes, they have an outer shell, you blow it apart if you kill them.
True.
They're the little ball in a, like, if servitors are made in the shape of a traveler and they have a little eye in front, and then ghosts kind of have a similar thing going on, I don't think that's such a crazy idea.
And servitors even get their own custom shells. We see that with the spiders.
Mm-hmm.
They have the little spiky deals coming out of it.
So many spiky boys. Who do you... Alright, so whenever I see that many spiky boys, like, it kind of reminds me of a hedgehog, and a hedgehog does that so that something won't bite it. I was like, what is biting your servitors?
And if something that big is biting them and is interested in eating technology, we probably don't want to see it.
I don't want to, but they have. Like, what the fuck? Why haven't you told me about this? I feel like this should have maybe been an earlier conversation. Like, you seem clearly prepared, whereas I am not. All while being here on the reef. Damn it, Spider. Although he's probably still salty, which, ooh. Bagel's like, I gotta get meta for a second. I thought that was the dumbest way to free Crow.
Yeah,
I don't mean to complain. I really enjoy everything, guys. I'm not on the salt train. I know you don't come to this show for that, but like, holy shit. For him to not figure out his own wordplay, he's the guy who got out of paying us like 8 times because he said he would consider something.
Yeah, it seemed a little
Like
against Spider's like creed almost. Like he's certainly greedy to a fault, and he would find some way to work his way out of any situation like that.
Let's be honest. The only difference between him and the Kingpin from the Marvel universe, whichever Marvel universe you want, cinematic or otherwise, is that he has way more arms and clicks when he's super jazzed about something you just said.
No, I completely agree. It seemed against his character, and I questioned it a little bit, but maybe there could be some unseen consequence, or maybe Spider actually wanted that to happen. That could yet come into play. It's not unlike him to have a long con type of situation as well. So I'm willing to let it play out to see how it develops precisely.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from though entirely.
Yeah, like I wanted there to be some like real hardcore trickery or like hard task. Like he offered us an offer like, okay, well yes you can, but go fucking kill a hive god or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like something ridiculous he just figured we couldn't do because reasonably we should not have been able to, but we brought in 5 other buddies and we were like, you know what? Guardians choose their own fate. Fuck it. Ran in there like a bunch of fucking champions.
Indeed.
That would be how I would take it. But yeah, like it's I don't know how I feel about it. Yeah, like not to be a complainer. There's a lot of negativity out there, guys, for this game. That is not what we're here for. That was just a comment on characterization and perhaps worry for the future, mostly. So sorry if you got that sour taste in your mouth. You were perhaps trying to escape. Sorry.
Regardless, yeah, back to shell designs and commonalities. Yeah, they do seem to be just overall they seem to share a lot of striking similarities, and I think again it's if it's not a direct parallel between their construction, it's certainly a design reference back to the Traveler. Certainly, at least a callback in the case of Ghosts as to where they came from. That center ball seems to be cornering on the iconology of spheres.
Yeah, and it really strikes me, in particular, that there is a direct call out that servitors were made in the image of the Traveler, though we don't know when.
Correct.
Or by who. And then we also know that ghosts were made directly by the Traveler. And we know this. Like, no, like, not to be, like, joking about it. Like, there's no other, like, there's, like, a fun theory that perhaps Clovis Bray made them, but, like, there's seriously, like, not to be like an asshole, guys. There's dick and shit that relates to that theory.
Yeah,
Like, there's, you know what I mean? Like,
it's an idea, and we don't want to
you're
like
so much nicer than me.
like I don't want to
I don't want to shit on
take
anyone's
that.
ideas, but like,
Yeah,
just like for emphasis, not to be an asshole about it. I guess is like the best way I can put what I just said. Like, mm, that is a fun idea, and I won't fault you for enjoying it.
sure.
But there's literally nothing that points to that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption at this point. So yeah, yeah. I guess what else do we have? There's a multifaceted requirement out of both functionings of ghosts and servitors. In the case of servitors, you've got them feeding ether. You've got them acting as navigators for the fallen catches and more minor ships. They are also seemingly a defense screen for their allies in combat. So there's a multifaceted aspect to servitors, and similarly, ghosts. We've got them opening doors. Haha. We've got them connecting to other ghosts via networks. There's
But not the Ghost Network. That's a completely different.
right.
Not to confuse anyone.
Right. Yeah, it's they certainly serve a variety of roles in addition to just their standard res the Guardian type of role. So it's not like they're just limited to a single role as well, and they seem to kind of parallel in that like multifaceted catch-all type thing is I guess what I'm trying to get across.
To add to these differences, though, they've also been around a lot longer.
Sure.
Like they've existed at least the entire time that ghosts have.
Correct. Yeah, servitors have existed. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, man. So I feel like we're at a point where we can make some decisions. Do you think it's something on its face? On its face, what's your base plausibility?
I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give this a base plausibility of around 8. Like it's plausible in the sense that on the sense of did our servitors really like a production of the Traveler like we've said for Ghosts? Like did the Traveler just outright make servitors? That is somewhat plausible. I would argue that it's at this point. However, we don't know much about how Ether originated on Reese, so it's a distinct possibility that the Fallen or the Elixir back then would have developed the servitors in some capacity. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but basically the servitor origination is completely up in the air, in my view, as to how the Elixir started to
What about in the
develop them
side though? What about like
on the
spiritual precursor?
Yeah, on the spiritual side, I think there's certainly a case to be made there. Certainly the Fallen post Whirlwind needed ether generation in order to, if not outright survive, they needed it to at least grow and be strong. And so they developed the servitors at some point in order to facilitate that. And certainly ghosts are very similar in that vein that they're modeled. They're both modeled after the Traveler. The sphere iconology is strong between both, and obviously the Traveler. So there's a lot of certain characteristics that are shared between both servitors and ghosts that make the link at least plausible in my view. But there's a lot of missing gaps that need to be filled in before we can make any strong arguments.
I kind of agree with that because you don't know, and I mean I feel like both is important, right? Because uh, technology from the influence of the traveler developed by the people can be as great, if not equal to, technology developed directly by the traveler, such as ghosts, right?
Yep. Yep.
I think even in the example of humanity, like the ability that we were able to come up with a war mind such as Rasputin, which you might say, oh, Rasputin kind of fucking sucks. Like, Rasputin survived that shit and is still helping us and is fighting off. And, like, you want to say, like, he couldn't stand up to the darkness. Like, he fucking escaped. He didn't get killed by the darkness either. Like, that's pretty
Yep.
fucking cool. And so I want to put that out there. And, like, I think some of those other species that we had sort of, like, referenced earlier in the episode who had been influenced by the Traveler with kadiometric weapons and what have you, things that come off as paracausal in nature. I I think, there's almost maybe a thin line between influence by the Traveler and what the Traveler creates directly, because with the case of Titan, humanity actually terraformed that, not the
Mm-hmm.
Traveler.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able
Yeah.
to do it. We were
Yeah.
able to do it as about as well as the Traveler did, given what was there, which was just like seas of methane.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to put that out there to this point to where, like, even if it's not like a one-to-one precursor, I feel like the spiritual and influence there for me gives us like a little bit higher plausibility value, even if it was like by the players involved unintended. So I kind of see it as, I'm gonna give it a 328 plausibility, just because I really wanted to make your scale look like shit. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, I don't give it like concrete backing there either. Like, honestly, it might be like, you ever see that movie K-Pax? Like, why is a soap bubble round? Just because that shit's efficient. So something that's meant to float in the air should just be round,
Sure.
because then it can float easily from no matter where gravity's pulling at it.
Sure.
So I won't give it like hundreds of percents. But like, now that we're past that, man, how do you turn it up to 11? What do you need to know?
Turn it up to 11 and confirm that the the ether generation started with the arrival of the traveler on Reese. That would basically turn it up to 11 for me, because that would basically confirm that ether was a traveler inspired product, and therefore what inspired the golden age was basically a drug produced by the traveler. Don't take that the wrong way. I mean, drugs can have positive effects to a society, in addition to
You heard
negative
it here
effects. But
first, folks. Bagel said legalize it.
but it's basically if we're cranking it up there, that would basically confirm it for me that the traveler, if even if it didn't directly create servitors, it would have inspired the Fallen to create machines at that point in time, and therefore, basically, by secondhand, by its own second, it would have second-handedly created the servitors. So
Right,
yeah,
right, yeah. Like you leak your own influence enough. That's, you know what I mean. Like, I'm picking up what you're putting down here.
yep.
All right, groovy. For me, I guess maybe a little similarly, but not quite as exactly the same or as direct. I think for me, to turn it up to 11, what I would really just need is, now that the Traveler can speak for itself, maybe the Traveler just commenting on, maybe this is more direct. This is more direct. Maybe the Traveler just commenting on their relationship with the Elixni, because
Sure.
it's awake now. Like, honestly, like, say what you want. We have never dealt with an awake Traveler, aside from it influencing Crow to bring us treats. Like, it might have something to say about about the Elixni and a bunch of other things. And you know, there's a lot of strong theories out there still that there might be a playable Elixni class or potential Elixni guardians, or at least like maybe Elixni allies who are doing light-based things. So
Hmm.
definitely worth because it's really interesting. It's if everyone's trying to take back the Great Machine, Mithrax is the first one who's just to say like, what if we just like protect it with them? They're just guarding it. We could just, what if we just set up? We're just like, hey, like buddy, like we're pals now. We're just gonna set up camp with you. No, we won't fight you for it. We just want to chill. I feel like he's the first one who doesn't try to take it. He tries to like just like offer help. Like, hey, guys.
Just have diplomatic arrangements. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
he just wants to hang out under the Traveler. Like he's not mad at you. Like you know. I also really appreciate what seems to be that approach on his part. So yeah, like I think there's a lot involved there, and related, and I think there's a lot to be found. And I kind of want to submit now. I think though Mithrax is clearly the Caleb House Light, I personally hope he doesn't die and become the first Elixni Guardian. I hope he gets to mentor the first Elixni Guardians. I like to think if they ever become a playable race, he'll be your guy that you go talk to.
Sure, that
Right?
makes sense. Yeah, kind of a not quite a vanguard because he wouldn't be arisen himself, but it would still be a situation where he'd be a mentor for the fallen society to that newly risen individual.
Right? Like I would be here for that. I hope that's the kind of role that he gets. Just the like, not that I have any problem. Like, yes, I think he's a great candidate to be arisen to be a guardian. I just don't want him to die. I want his story to keep going
Mhm.
because he does a lot of cool stuff.
Indeed.
It's not like Aldrin who like died and you're like yeah, and then Crow gets risen and he's like awesome on top of everything. You're like yeah. I feel like if Mithrax died, I'd be like oh no.
That's a fair point. Yeah, and he also seems to be our best mediator for the fallen at this point in time. The best chance for diplomatic relations to be initiated between the two species.
He's a
I would,
super buddy.
yeah, I'm pretty excited to see where his character goes.
Yeah, yeah. So I all right. I'll round it off with that, man. I think this is a really fun one. It definitely lent us on a lot of tangents, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Like I'm super jazzed about it. This was fun.
Indeed.
Um. So my man's that was a fun one. Anyone, if you have any like further thoughts on this, I know we maybe left this a little more ambiguous than some of our other ones. I feel like we definitely like touched upon like how we could force it and where it is, but like, mm, there's a lot of knowns and a lot of known unknowns. So if you have your own thoughts, yeah, like write in or add us. You can get our information at the beginning and the end of the thing, but it's usually a Spinfoil theory at something or at that. So
Indeed.
so yeah. Begs, you got any shout outs, my man?
I just want to give a shout out to my grandfather, who is recovering uh, from repairing an ulcer. He's doing pretty well, and got to visit with him today for a significant amount of time. First time since he had the surgery, so I'm pretty happy to have that be the case, and that he's doing pretty well. So I'm pretty excited about that, and just wanted to give him a big shout out.
Okay, I love the idea that your grandfather listens to our show, and I'm going to co-sign on that shout out. I want to co-sign. That's super jazz, dude. I'm so glad that he's doing well. I'm so glad that you got to like go hang out and visit. That's fucking awesome. I'm sure I speak for all of the listeners too. Like fucking amen. Like that's cool. Like yeah. Um, Personally, I'm gonna give a shout out to my brother Kari. Like we're fucking homeowners now. That was a journey. Never did that before. Never thought I could do it. And I got to do it with her. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. I think you know in the coming recordings, like I'll definitely make note when I'm doing we got some work to do, a little work to do in the house before we move in the next couple weeks. But yeah, I'll be sure to let everyone know when we're officially doing it from the new house. I'll put up pictures of the space too. We'll all be a part of it. My biggest shout out is to her for all the work that she does, and I know she listens to the show. So like all the work that she does, and all the effort that she put into getting this done, and that she's continuing to put into making this too. She's a lot handier than I am. She did painting and swabs and stuff this weekend, and I baked. You can laugh at that. I'm a fucking bagels. You saw them biscuits.
I did see the biscuits. I can completely attest to that.
You saw them biscuits. To our British fans, in this case, not quite scones, flakier and better served with savory dishes like breakfast foods.
It's true.
Yeah. Or maybe like a sausage gravy. But anyhow, thank y'all so much for joining us again this week. We'll be here next week. Here's to a great 2021, because 2020 was fucking bogus.
Indubitably.
Yeah. So with that, we'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye! That's the end of this week's topic, but be sure to check out our past and future episodes on Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. If you have any questions about this week's topic, want to discuss Destiny lore with us, or if you just feel like reaching out to us, you can find us on Twitter at Spinfoil Theory, or you can email us via spinfoiltheory@gmail.com. Thanks for listening!
The Lore Network.